Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hi, how are ya? And we're here to do the Kitty Lee makeup tutorial. Let's get this thing popping.
Okay, so the first step of the makeup is to prime your face. This is the Touch in Soul No Pore Bone Primer. This one focuses on smoothing your face. Reagan has another one.
I use a Wet n Wild matte, just face primer.
It's the photo finish one.
These two are just both like drugstore ones you can find at like what? I get
drugstore.
Oh, it's not?
No. Anyway,
mine's drugstore. I find mine at Walgreens or Target or Walmart.
This is good if you have oily skin. This one is kind of good for everyone.
Oily skin, you want to lean towards the matte, more drying types of primers. But if you have more of like dry skin, you want to lead to the more moisturizing primers.
This one, you only need a little bit of it, and this primer is really necessary for dancers, at least for long competition days, because makeup wears off throughout the day, so primer will make your makeup last a lot longer. And
especially with sweat.
Make it not look as gross at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So you just take it, rub it all over your face, and blend it in.
With your fingers. Sounds great.
Yep. Okay, next, there's foundation. Reagan, which one do you use?
I use a pretty expensive brand that you can only find at Sephora, I think possibly Ulta, but it's the Laura Mercier. It's the Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation. It is pretty nice for my oily skin, but it also is pretty expensive. Thank you, Pam Svoboda, for paying for it.
And this is one that I bought myself because, you know, self-made. This is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation. This one's a really popular foundation. It's not a whole lot of, it's not like full coverage, but it still allows your skin to breathe a little bit. So I really like this one for my dry skin because my skin like flakes off, it's so dry. So this one's good for dry skin, that one's really good for oily skin.
And like you don't need a super bougie expensive foundation. You can always go to your nearest Walgreens, Walmart, or Target and find one that fits for you just right. I know really good drugstore foundations are the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. It comes in like a glass tube and you pour it out. I know that one's a good one. I used to use that one a lot. And then
there's a good Wet n Wild one. It's kind of drying, but it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. It's the Photo Finish one, actually.
Photo Finish foundation.
Okay, some brushes or sponges you can use to apply it. We really recommend the Beauty Blender.
I love my Beauty Blender.
It's a lifesaver.
It's really dirty though.
You can get it wet before or dry. Most people do wet, but I mean,
so you like wet it under a
go
sink, so it expands like a normal sponge, and then you like quickly like dry it off in a towel real fast, and then you can start using it.
Or you can use a brush like this.
These brushes are very dense, like packing brushes, so it's not like they're very loose. It's so they can definitely spread on your foundation and not get lost in the brushes. All right, quick tip with your foundation, you want to make sure that it will match your spray tan color or your skin color at the time of the competition.
Please don't get an orange foundation or like have like a white foundation or something that just make it match your skin tone.
So you can always test it out at the store real fast if you really need to.
And
it's also crucial to blend
your undertone.
Yes. There's like pink undertones, cool undertones, yellow undertones. You'll just have to realize that with your own skin. Also, it's very crucial to blend your foundation down to your neck so you don't have a cutoff line right where your jaw is. As long as you're blending all the way down, you can do right here in this area and all the way down the neck. It's very crucial to make sure your face and your neck match and are the same color. And our next step is concealer. And we are going to be focusing this on our high points of our face that we want to highlight.
2 drugstore kinds. Reagan, yours.
I have the Maybelline Fit Me concealer. I usually just use this one because my shade of skin color changes a lot when it comes to spray tans and everything, so I just reach for the drugstore one. This one works really nice. I really like it. And you?
This is another drugstore one. This one you can only get at Ulta. This is not at Sephora. This is, I think, $7 or $8. Hey, Sasha. That's funny. But this is a Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define concealer, and this one is known to be a dupe for Shape Tape concealer, which is really expensive. It's like $30.
$26, I think.
It's like $28.
Shape Tape you can only find at Ulta. It's a really nice concealer, or concealer of your choice.
Full coverage.
Whatever concealer you would like to choose.
And this is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer.
This one is a very good concealer.
A really good concealer.
But it's very expensive at the same time.
It's not a drugstore concealer.
Not at all.
Okay, so we're going to
But the choice is up to you. So we're going to focus the concealer underneath the eyes, and then we're going to focus it right in the middle, like there on the forehead. Drag it down the nose, just one right there. And then if you want, you could dot one right here and one right there. That's pretty much.
Can you do my other eye?
Oh, sure. And then also, if you don't want to buy eyeshadow primer, you can always rub or blend your concealer on your eyelid. And as long as you set that with setting powder, which is going to be our next step.
This is a good one for the eye primer.
So you can always double your concealer up as eyeshadow primer as well. And now we're just gonna blend that in. So
Beauty
remember-
blender.
Yes, beauty blenders or a very dense packing brush, just like you use for foundation. But definitely we're focusing the concealer under the eye, in the middle-ish of the forehead. So like your T-zone, which is right here. And then, so you're gonna bring that down to your nose. You can do a little dot here and there if you would like, but that's just optional.
With concealer, it's very necessary to cover up the bags underneath our eyes that we lost from all the sleep.
We know that we got those early mornings.
So concealer is a
Crucial.
must. You need foundation and concealer in order to complete your face.
And if you feel like your dark bags are peeking through your concealer, you can always double up on it. And our next step is powder to set the face.
This is a really good one. When it comes to powders, it may be better to invest in ones that are a little more expensive so you don't have a bunch of flashback. I mean, it doesn't matter as much on stage, but
Especially with the bright lights, they can leave, like the cheaper setting powders can leave like a white cast on your face, so it kind of washes you out and there's like no point in doing your makeup, or you'll just look pretty bad in some pictures. But if that doesn't really matter to you, it's okay, because you don't have to use that much.
a good one from the drugstore is the Maybelline Fit Me powder.
It comes in like a square cube.
And there's different shades of that. Just find your shade. Please don't go too dark.
Yes,
Like-
and so we normally will recommend translucent setting powders, so they, as soon as you lay it on the skin, it'll just instantly absorb to your skin color.
Okay, and a really good one from Sephora is the Too Faced Born This Way
Ethereal.
Ethereal Setting Powder.
Yes, I use this one all the time.
I got the wrong shade, so.
So we're going to be using my translucent one, and it comes with how many grams of
Make sure you get the normal translucent shade, not like translucent medium
17
or
grams.
translucent dark, because that's what I did.
just normal translucent, so it'll hit your face and become your skin color. So we're going to set the face where the concealer was, so or anywhere around the face that you believe your foundation will need it, but mostly focus it where you put your concealer so that it doesn't start creasing on you.
And if you have oily skin, really focus it on the areas that you know oil's gonna come off, and try and take your makeup off, because we ain't gonna let that happen.
No, so with my oily skin, and if anyone else out there can relate, I definitely will focus mine in the nose area. I tend to get really oily right here. I also will focus it right in this forehead area, because then I start to look really like shiny. And then also I will do my smile lines, because in like right here on the outside of my nose, just a lot of oil builds up, and like after a long day of dance,
If
it
you're not
looks
smiling
so
on
shiny.
stage and you don't get smile lines, you're not doing it right.
So you want to also set your smile lines if, oh, hello. But yes, so you want to set the places that you feel like your makeup will pretty much kind of start breaking.
And then you're all matte.
Yep.
Okay, the next step is
Bronzer. And this will actually come in your makeup kit. It is the
so pretty.
Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. It smells really good too.
It's so good. This is in the shade Sunkissed Bronzer.
I didn't know it
think.
came with a little brush. Okay,
It's not a
please
brush.
ignore the brush.
Please
do not use
this.
that.
This
Do
will not do
use
good
that.
with your makeup. This is a really good brush to use.
What
this is from
this?
Morphe.
A pad?
I think it's like
What
12
is
or
that?
so dollars. It's the M527 brush.
I use the Morphe R2 brush. It's like a pretty big brush, so you can really bronze up the face.
That one you can get at Morphe. This one you can get at Ulta. So get this one.
Whatever.
That one's really good though.
Whatever floats your boat. It does. And now we're going to focus the bronzer
Tap off excess.
in the depths of your cheeks, and then we're also gonna like focus it down on the jawline to really distinguish your jawline, but mostly in the depths of your cheeks, and then you can go around the outlines of your face to really define the shape of your face with your bronzer. Also, taking it down to the neck and blending it down here will also really help with making sure your skin tone pretty much matches. Or if you wanna look a little darker, that will definitely help.
If your foundation doesn't match, you can save it a little bit with bronzer. Please make your foundation match.
But yes, bronzer is supposed to warm up your face and give it some sort of definition and shape due to the fact that it's so dry and blank with all your foundation and concealer.
We're back.
After you are all bronzed up, you see how face has been given life. It looks like a face.
I don't look like a Barbie doll.
Yeah, exactly. This next step is optional, or you can do it with your bronzer. You're just going to contour, which is what you're going to deepen out the more shadows of your face, which is exactly where you put your bronzer. So you can take a darker brown shade. I use this in a Tarte little, what is it called?
Hamptons Weekends.
Hamptons Weekend. It has a blush, a bronzer, and a highlighter in it. And I love it. It's really small.
You just need kind of a cooler neutral tone brown. Any of these work. If you need different shades for skin tones.
I kind of dropped it and cracked. Sorry about that. But like contour, there's also a lot of contour palettes. Morphe makes pretty cheap ones that you can find at Ulta. Or you can just deepen this up with a darker bronzer if you'd like.
Just try not to use one that is Cheeto shade.
Or don't use one that is, I'd say don't use a contour shade
That is too dark for
this
you.
dark brown, because that
Unless
you'll
you
just
need
have
it
a
for your
straight
skin
dark.
tone.
That you'll just have a straight dark line. So just make sure that when you're contouring your face, it's not too dark. It's only just like a natural look of emphasizing your.
And you're
height.
gonna kind of put it in the same place as bronzer. She just dropped her scooter.
It's okay.
Except you're just gonna kind of keep it in a line, more of a line, not a straight line, but then you're gonna blend it out.
And this goes in the exact same spot as your bronzer. So do not put it on your high cheeks, like where your blush goes. Don't put it on your eyelids where your eyeshadow goes.
If you're older, you can do this. I probably wouldn't do this if I were younger, but you can try and get a little bit on your nose just to
nose
accentuate the
contour?
nose. You know,
Kids
James
don't need to worry
Charles
about
is
their nose.
snatching.
Oh my god, my nose is a little rough.
Okay, and then you can also put it on your forehead.
So you can
to
also
make your forehead
deepen-
look tinier.
You can deepen the outline of your face that you pretty much did. But with these steps, you have to make sure you blend. We do not want any harsh, dark lines on your face because that'll ruin the whole illusion of what contouring and bronzing is for. So make sure you blend so it all looks pretty natural. See, like, look at Faith. Looks pretty natural. I mean, you can tell she's wearing makeup, but it's not like harsh. All right.
Hey.
And our next step is blush. So we are going to be using the same CoverGirl blush that we always use.
It's in the makeup list, so you're gonna have to go get it. Reagan forgot hers today, and I did too, because we're failures. But we're just gonna use the one in here. It's kind of similar.
As long as it's a nice pinky rosy blush, you will be fine. But we are going to focus this blush on the apples of our cheeks, which is right above our contour and bronzer. So it's like you can go in little circles or you can drag it across, but
Please don't make it a harsh red line going all the way back.
your blush should not be more visible than your
Bronzer
contour or
and
bronzer.
bronzer.
And you don't want to mistakenly put your blush in the depths of your cheeks. You only want to focus it right on the higher cheekbone. And it should be like a light pink dusting to make you have more of a rosy appearance, but it should not be put on as harshly as a bronzer or a contour. So as you can see, you can see that there's blush on her face, but you cannot only see that there's blush on her face.
And also,
What?
please get the shade of blush they recommend because we do not want like straight red, and don't over apply product onto the brush because when you put too much product on the brush it's really hard to go back from it. So just lightly build it up and kind of do that with all of your makeup because it's better to just start off light and get up to the layer you want than go really harsh all of a sudden
And then
you
try to
won't be able
blend that
go
out.
back.
That'll be hard. So if you tap it once or twice, tap the excess off, maybe do one of those, and then you can start. You can always build up. It's better to be safe than sorry because once you start rubbing it on and then you go right in, oh God, the blending process will never end and it might not even blend all the way out. So.
Okay.
So our next step is eyebrows, and it is very important to shade in your eyebrows the right color. If you are blonde, I would not suggest using a brown color. I would suggest using a more taupe or caramel color, and if you have darker hair like me, you will be using a dark brown color. Very good eyebrow pencils or eyebrow products are from Anastasia Beverly Hills.
Do you have the thin one of that? 'Cause
No, I do not have brow wiz. So I will use the Dip Brow Pomade from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is for, I would say, more advanced. It's more of a clay that you will paint on your eyebrows.
if you're doing your kids' eyebrows and they're like
pretty young.
15 or under, I would probably stick away from this one.
I would. This one is for, I'd say if you're very advanced and you take your eyebrows
It's
very
for people
seriously.
like Reagan.
Yeah. And Kai.
Kai, we see you, Kai.
We
Actually,
love you, Kai.
She uses that.
Oh,
too.
she does? Well,
Yeah.
I know she uses the clay a lot. So shout out to you. But this one is optional if you would like to use that. Also, Anastasia Beverly Hills makes a brow definer. Wow, I said that really weird. Brow definer or a brow wiz. I have the definer. One end is a spoolie so that you can comb out your brows. And then the other end is a twist up of brow product so that you can like draw on your brows. And I have the brow definer, so it's a little bit thicker. The brow wiz is more of a very thin pencil, so like just like this. If you can get it in the camera, there you go. So it's very thin, and so it makes it pretty easier to draw on your brows and not mess up.
This is one from the drugstore. It's kind of like a dupe for Anastasia. It's not as good, but it gets the job done. The thin pencils are better for kids that don't really have as much of eyebrows.
See, I've got
I know
like a
lot
thick
of the little
bushel.
kids are like still like growing in their eyebrows and stuff, and they're not
They're
that
pretty
dark.
small, pretty thin, so
You're
you can
gonna
use
want
the
a thin pencil. This is from NYX. This is the micro brow pencil. They have this at Target, I think. I got mine at Target at least.
Anastasia
this is the shade Taupe.
is sold at Sephora, and I don't think they
Is
sell
it
it.
Ulta?
Do they do it at
Yeah,
Ulta?
it is.
Okay, it's at Ulta too. So, and if you don't want to use a drugstore brow pencil, you can always use the Brow Wiz from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And then Faith's just going to color in her eyebrows.
You just go on the bottom, and then I do it on the top.
And like we said before, do not do a harsh color that is drastically different from your hair color.
See,
So
this
if you are
matches the
blonde, you
beginning.
should not be using the color I am using for my brows. You should be using a taupe, blonde, or caramel color.
This is taupe. But how I do mine is I draw a line on the bottom connected to my end, then I do it from the arch of my brow, and I draw it on the edge, and then I kind of fill in the space in between.
You're covering it with the...
Oh, shoot. And then I go underneath my brow here and just kind of define this edge on the bottom. This is a little dark one. This is my Starbucks here.
And then you just comb
And I
the
take my
product through
spoolie
your
and then I
eyebrow.
kind of blend the product through my eyebrow. I need to go get my Starbucks.
Oh, and another optional step after your eyebrows. A lot of older girls will tend to use this, but younger girls really don't need to. You can always like gel your eyebrows in place with an eyebrow gel. I know Anastasia Beverly Hills has a good one. Benefit sells a good one.
This is a mini Benefit one.
And so it's just like a gel you comb through your eyebrows so that they will stay in place all day. You really don't need this step unless you are very cautious with your eyebrows or your eyebrows tend to move around
If
a lot
you
throughout the
have
day.
brow hairs that are extremely long, that step might be necessary for you. Next up is eyeshadow. I
And-
would hate myself for watching this.
So like we said earlier, you can use a concealer to prime your eyelids, but we would suggest priming your eyelids because of the heavy amount of eyeshadow we are going to be putting on. This is my favorite eyeshadow primer.
This is a very good eyeshadow.
It's from Urban Decay. It's called Primer Potion. They make different versions due to
The
like,
original one is the best one.
it's the
Just
best
get
one.
Get the original.
You can find this one at Sephora. I think they make a lot of drugstore eyeshadow primers that you can go for.
And remember, if you don't want to go buy a primer, concealer is okay. You just have to set it.
So like when we set like everywhere we put concealer, you'll want to make sure if you use concealer as a eyeshadow primer, you will set your concealer as
With-
soon as you put it on. Or you can use your translucent setting powder to set it, or you can use our base shade, which we will tell you about in a second.
When we do our eyeshadow.
And so with this eyeshadow primer, you just spread it on your eye with the doe foot applicator, and then you can just blend it in with your finger or a beauty blender. It's up to your choice.
And this is to make your eyeshadow last because eyeshadow will crease off
It
throughout
will.
the day if you do not prime it.
I love this primer. It makes my eyeshadow stay in the best shape possible for the longest time ever.
And on competition days, they can be long.
Especially when you're doing a lot of eyeshadow. You'll want it to stay in place so you don't have to mess with it anymore. Oh, and our new eyeshadow palette this year is the ColourPop I Think I Love You.
I love you, Reagan.
I think I love you, Faith. Student.
I hate myself.
And so it has how many? Let's do math. 1, 2, 3, 4,
12.
1, 2, 12.
Okay, anyways.
Okay, anyways, so this is our palette. It's a very nice palette. We chose this one because it has all the shades we would like to use. Okay, so our
Okay,
first shade.
Wait.
What? What,
We
what,
need to
what?
talk about eyeshadow brushes.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Eyeshadow brushes will make your eyeshadow look good even if you don't know how to do eyeshadow. But you will because you're watching this video.
So these are my eyeshadow brushes. They are all from Morphe. And You know, I don't know how to like personally recommend an eyeshadow brush.
We will send out eyeshadow brush recommendations, okay?
We will.
We're gonna go to Ulta and get a list because some of ours aren't. You can only get online, and we know some people like to get their stuff from in stores, and so we will be sending out a list of eyeshadow brushes from Ulta that are usually Morphe. Morphe has the best eyeshadow brushes in my opinion, and
That's all mine
so
consist of. You can see mine are pretty.
Mine are
big.
Morphe. Mine are just of a gold collection.
I bought a huge set of makeup brushes, but it was a very expensive set because my makeup got stolen like last year. So
We get it.
I had to replace
We get it,
all.
Reagan.
I had to replace it all. But so eyeshadow brushes will consist of, they'll be very fluffy on the top, and then they will get smaller in size due to how detailed you want your eyeshadow to be, or where in the eye like lid you want your eyeshadow.
And
to be
throughout the
placed.
tutorial, we will be showing you brush shapes that we think will be good for the step. So if you want to try and match that, if you find any,
All right.
that works.
So the first step, we are going to be laying down our base shade, which is this cream colored bone shade right here. It is called My Treat. And with this, I use the Morphe M504 brush. It's a very like fluffy, loose brush, since it doesn't matter where it's going. Really, you're just laying it everywhere.
Either shape of these brushes will work, I think, in my opinion.
So any fluffy brush that's, I would say not like pointed or anything, just as long as it's fluffy and kind of big.
Okay.
So I'm just tapping on. I'll tap off the excess because we don't want it to fall down under the eye.
Fallout is not an option.
Fallout is not fun to deal with. So I'm just going to be rubbing this all over the eye as a base shade. So it just sets down everything that was there, and it'll make it a very nice, I'd say, palette to work with.
And with this base shade, you don't have to be too accurate, but with the other shades,
You do.
you definitely want to watch where you're putting
Since this is just being placed all over the eye, it does not matter how or what technique you use to do it. Just as long as you can sort of see the bone shade all over the eye. All right, and our next step is going to be a crease shade. This brush, the brush you use for it will be very similar in size. It'll be pretty fluffy because your crease is quite big, so you don't want it to be super pointed, or it'll just like the crease will be way too defined when it should only just be a nice blend of a brown. So I use the Morphe R37. It's a pretty fluffy brush.
Good brush.
I really like this one. And so next we're going to be dipping in the shade right above it, which is called Fancy Face. It is the first like lightest brown shade in this palette.
Please do not put any of these shimmers in your crease, guys. I am begging you.
Shimmers do not belong in a crease. Also, we aren't going to be using shimmers that much this year. So.
We only have 2 shimmers in this palette we will be using, so.
And so with this, we're going to focus this on the crease, and the crease is right where your eyelid skin folds in every time you open your eye. It's where your socket is very defined.
And also, some people do have different shaped eyes. Some people's eyes are narrower, some are longer than others. So find your eye shape and find what works best for you, because if you have tiny eyelids like this way, you don't want to be putting brown eyeshadow all the way up here. Just limit it to like the more of the crease.
Because this eyeshadow will not be touching our eyebrows.
No, please,
It will not.
please don't.
So we're going to keep it in the eyelid region, not in the brow bone region. All right, so just like this, I'm going to be putting this in the crease with windshield wiper motions. And as you can see, oh, this is blending very nice. Oh, we're gonna review this palette while we're using it. And as you can see, her eyelid has more definition than the other one at the moment, which is what it should look like. Let me do the other eye, and then also, you can go back and forth with the going from one eyelid to the next, just to make sure that the color is evenly distributed on both eyes. You don't want one eye to be darker than the other, or just one eye to have more product on than the other. You want to make sure everything is even and symmetrical. Oh, this is a nice eyeshadow.
This transition shade is a crucial step to your eyeshadow, because if you don't have a shade in there that can kind of blend all of the colors together, it's not going to look as good.
It's just the shade that all the eyeshadow colors can go off of and all connect and blend well together. So that everything is connected and you don't just have a random piece of art on your eyes. And just like this, using windshield wiper motions, and you want to make sure you keep blending back and forth so there are no harsh lines, and it is a pretty soft look. All right.
And usually, unless you're like a 5-year-old, or preferably don't do your makeup if you're like 12 or below.
Unless you watch,
Unless you're like
Beauty
James
gurus.
Charles in like a minier version.
if you watch beauty gurus all the time and you learn all their techniques, I would say yes. But
Parents
also,
try
if you
and
need
learn.
help, always reach out to one
DM
of us older
us.
girls.
Our DMs are open.
Oh, stop. Just reach out to one of us older girls. We will always be glad to help. I know I've helped with solo makeup before, or just makeup for little girls in general, just because it's a nice thing to do, and we want to make sure we all look our best, and we all look
You want to look
the
snatched.
best. We want
how
to look
it
good
is.
this year, don't we? All right, and our next step is we are going to be taking the darker brown shade in this bottom right-hand corner, which is called Screw It. Also, this brush I'm going to be using is called the Morphe M513. As you can see, it's a little bit more denser than the other ones I've been using. It's not as here. I'll show us a comparison. So this one is more fluffy while this one is smaller, just because we're going to be using a darker shade and we're only going to be focusing it in one portion of the eye instead of all around the eye. So it's going to have a smaller, fluffier top besides this one, and it's going to be just a little bit more denser, as you can see, compared in size. I hope that's a big enough difference.
It's good enough, Riggs.
Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna lightly go in with this one. Like we said, go in with a lighter hand and build up instead of going too dark and kind of messing up the whole eyeshadow look. Okay, so I'm going to dip into this darker shade. I'm gonna dust off that
Please
excess.
cut out these parts where
I
sound
will. Now close your eye. We're gonna focus this more on the outer portion. Here, you can put your head down there. That's. So we're gonna focus this on the more outer portion. We are not gonna focus this on this side of the eyelid. It's mostly gonna stay on the outside. So this is gonna be on the outer portion of the eye, just to darken it, just like the outer half. So don't even focus this anywhere on the inner half, just because we want the outer half of the eye to be darker and we want the inner part of the eye to be lighter. So as you can see, it's only focused on the outside, and we are not crossing the center line, but we are blending so that there are no harsh lines and that everything is seamlessly put on the eyelid and doesn't look all put together like a puzzle. We want everything to blend together.
Yeah, we're pausing that.
Yay!
And as you can see, the difference. And also, moms or kids out there, please don't let this edge of the eyeshadow just be a straight line. Like, don't take a makeup wipe after this and wipe it off. You want it to be kind of like blended,
A
like.
nice, natural little curved blend. Whoa, there's a ghost here. Can you at least oh. All right, now we're going to repeat on the other eye. Like I said, staying in the outer portion. These blend so nice, I'm not even kidding.
And guys, if you just want a good brand to order from, ColourPop's your go-to.
ColourPop is a very nice
It's
brand.
cheap and the products are good quality.
So with this one, I am focusing this in the crease as well, but only the outer half of the crease. Also, I can bring it down on the actual lid. So think of, if you cut your eye in half, you will be focusing it in the crease and out here, because we will be layering black over it, and we want to make sure the black is coming from a darker brown and not the brown we used only in the crease as our first shade. So this will just be in the outer portion. You can bring it down here to deepen the outer socket, I would say. So it's starting to make more of a like darker outer hemisphere of the eyelid.
What?
It's the outer hemisphere.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so your next step is going to be the black eyeshadow shade on the outermost part of your eyelid. And this step is very crucial and very challenging, because if you put too much black on, there's no way you can blend it out. So you have to start very small and then start building up. And also,
what
your
we said
black
about
cannot be too
contour
harsh.
and bronzer.
It cannot be too harsh, and it cannot be a defined shape. It needs to be blended just on the outer portion, just like we did with the step right before us. So make sure your black isn't too cut and too obvious. It should be a nice blended, beautiful little add-on to the outer part of your eye. Also, with this, I use a more, I'd say, tapered than round. So it's more flat. I use, one side is my dark brown, one side is my black. So if you compare it to the eyeshadow brushes I was using.
If you have kids with super small eyelids, It's best to find brushes that are tiny. This is a super tiny brush, but for kids that have tiny eyelids, it's better to have a tiny brush to set it down and then you can blend it out. I know this isn't the exact shape that Reagan has, but find tiny brushes if your kids have tiny eyelids.
So this is the brush I used just on Faith to do the dark brown in the outer corner, but this is the brush I'll be using to do the black. As you can see, my brushes gradually get smaller and more defined because we are using a darker color in a more defined region of the eyelid.
Details.
Details are key. So we want to make sure we aren't using a big brush to blend black out because it'll just be too overwhelming and it won't be in the area we prefer it to be in.
But I apologize for how long this video is. Once you have all the information though, you won't have to watch this again. It'll just be natural to you.
Or you can take notes. All right, so I'm going to lightly dip into the black shade in this palette called Rule Breaker, which is right here, obviously. It's the only black shade. So I'm just gonna dip into it like once or twice, just because blacks can be heavily pigmented, we never know.
And
so I'm
this
gonna
one
tap
usually-
this off, and I'm going to start lightly. I start dabbing the black just to see how like powerful the pigmentation can be. So I'm just gonna start dabbing, close your eye, like dabbing just to see, and then I'll start brushing it more in the outer region. So this should make only the outer region. Just want to blend it so that the black isn't coming from nowhere. We want to make sure it looks like it's coming from some shade. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now we're going to repeat on the other side. So you can always go over with that first brush you've used and just blend it so everything looks seamless.
And also, try not to use the same brush for every step because then
You wanna-
it takes away the effect of having different shades because they end up all blending together then.
So you want to use different brushes for each eyeshadow. I understand using your darker brown, like using the same brush for a darker brown and a black, but like me, I would suggest using one side for the dark brown and one side for the black, so they do not mix, because if you're trying to put on a dark brown and it's already coming on black, that kind of defeats the purpose of keeping the black on the outer portion. Here, zoom in on your eye. So we focus the black on the outer part, and yes, only the outer side. Okay, next step.
The shimmer shade on the lid. Anyways, you're gonna want a brush kind of
So
like this.
cheap.
This is one from an Anastasia palette.
I have this one from BH Cosmetics. You can find this at like Kohl's or anywhere. As you can see, the brush is very like dense. It is like stiff. It is not fluffy. And I mean,
Mine's fluffy because
it can
I
range in
cleaned it
fluffiness.
out. I don't want like this.
It can range in fluffiness, but it's going to be a lot denser than any eyeshadow brush we have been using in the past.
And a tip to get your shimmers looking spicy.
To make them come off more pigmented, you can use water or you can use a setting spray. I use the Morphe Prep and Set Continuous Setting Mist. This is only like $15 on Morphe's website.
This is
at
on our
Ulta.
recommended list because this is very good and I think it is necessary.
We will be
for
using this as our
competitions.
last step anyways. So this is optional. You don't have to do this, but if you notice your shimmer shade is not going on as pigmented as it should be,
I would probably do this step.
So you can spray, just like,
Or you can use your finger if you know how to do it, but I would say
I would recommend
probably
using
use
a brush. So once I dip it,
But don't
spray.
soak the brush too much to where it's literally like dripping. You just need to dampen it a little bit
Just
so it'll
dampen it, so it'll really
kind of
pick up the product.
excite the pigments.
All right, so the shimmer shade we are going to be using is up in this top left-hand corner, and it's going to be called Girls Bite. All right, so I'm going to, yes, I'm going to coat my brush with this shimmer shade. Oh, let's move that. And then I am going to spread it out all over the eye. Oh, you can really tell. I really wet my brush. So I'm going to spread it all the way to where the black is met with the brown. And you can go over the black a little bit because we are going to blend the black right back over it, just so there is a flawless little connection right there. All right, so there is shimmer all over the lid.
Look at that pigment, folks. This shade is quite pigmented.
It's very nice. It's a very nice, like, goldy but champagne shimmer at the same time. So you're pretty much going to put the shimmer exactly in the first, like, half
The first
of
quadrant.
the eyelid. Not in the crease at all. It's only going to be on the eyelid in the first half, and then it's going to come over here to where the black starts blending in with the other brown. You okay? And you can go over the black just a little bit because we are going to blend those two together with the excess shadow we had on the brush that we used for our black shade. Because we want to make sure that our shimmer doesn't just stop. We want to make sure it looks like it is blended into our eyeshadow. So once that is set on, I'm going to use the same brush that I put the black on, and with the excess, oh my god, and with the excess powder on it, we can easily, we can easily just blend the two together. You lightly just have to dust it over so it looks like they are connected seamlessly instead of with a harsh line. Just like so.
You can also take an extra brush that doesn't have any product on it and just try to like pull that into the crease a little more.
Just so
after
everything is
the
blended
after the
easily.
shimmer shade.
So everything is like formed together smoothly and there are, again, no harsh lines. So you can take either the first brush you use to put on that first shade to blend everything together, or you can use a empty brush with no product on it that is very fluffy and start blending everything together.
Okay, wait, our next step is under eyeshadow.
So these are the brushes I would tend to use for under eyeshadow.
And under eyeshadow, what we mean by that is the lower lash line.
Pretty much in the lower lash line. As a comparison of what I would use, this is what I use for our first crease shade, and this is what I use for under eyeshadow. So as you can see, these brushes are significantly smaller. All right, and so for under eyeshadow, I'm going to be taking the first brown shade that we use in our crease, which is called Fancy Face. Yeah. So I'm going to just be lightly tapping on this, dusting it off, and I'm going to be putting this everywhere under the eyes, but this is not going to be a harsh shade that like comes all the way down here. It's just going to be tucked right underneath the lower lash line. You shouldn't see it anywhere else. As you can see, there's a light brown underneath the eyelids, but as you can see, it is not so harsh. It is just right underneath the lower lash line.
It pulls the whole eye together.
It really does. And for the second step, I am just going to be tapping into the dark brown and the black once on each. So once and once. I'm just going to dust this off. And I'm going to focus this right on the very outer corner, and I'm going to connect it to the eyeshadow
Be very
up
light
above.
with this one, okay?
I'm going to connect it to the eyeshadow. I'm literally just keeping it right in this outer corner, and it's going to connect with the eyeshadow on the upper lid and just connect down, and I'm literally only keeping it right on the outside. I am not bringing it in. We are going to keep the inner part of the lower lash line a little bit lighter just because it's going to follow the same steps we did with our eyelid. Darker on the outside, lighter on the inside. So just one more time, I'm going to tap into this shade and this shade, dust that off real fast, and then I'm going to be just blending this out here, just on the outer portion. Oh, what a shame. And then just blending that up to meet the outer portion of our eyeshadow on the
And
upper
if
lid.
you're doing makeup to your kid, I would suggest to have them do what I was doing, where you look up, because then they can't see it and they can't get scared. Then you don't think you're going to get it in their eyes.
All right, for the inner corner, we are going to do a shimmer shade, and this is my all-time favorite brush for that. It is the Morphe 213 brush. It is very small, and as you can see,
So
it's
cute and little.
so small. So it's really perfect for that little inner corner. So pretty.
What are
So you can use a very small brush, or you can use the tip of your finger. You can just like
It's the wrong side of the mouth.
I know, no, I'm not gonna do it. And so you can just like swab your finger around in there a little bit, and
I
then
hate
just
that word.
I know, and then you can just like put it on right there, but not too harsh. So that's why I prefer to use this. This is the second shimmer shade we are going to be using on our eyes today. It is the shade Rowdy.
Rowdy.
Rowdie. That's the way we spell rowdy, rowdy. If you remember, bring it from last year. That was me and Logan's part. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly get in there. You can also do the tip we used earlier, which is spray your brush before, but as
It's
a very
pigmented.
it's a very small amount. So if you have your dancer close her eye, you can just lightly put this right on the inner corner just blend it in a little bit. And so right there. As you can see, it's sparkly.
It kind of opens up the eye right there. I'll do the other one with my finger just so you can kind of see. If you were to do that, you're just kind of take it, close your eye, and just tap it on the inside of your eye there.
Wow. You did good, sweetie. So you just focus it literally right here. All you have to do is do like a straight line, and it gets both the upper and lower, but make sure your eyes close.
And as you can see, it just kind of opens up the eyes a little bit on the inside.
We recommend this
Do
for
this
older girls
one,
if
this
they
one.
prefer to do it. We can do a brow bone highlight. So you're going to take that same shade you put in your inner corner, and you're going to put it on your brush again, and you're going to highlight the brow bone, which is right underneath the lower end of your tail of your eyebrow. So you're just gonna lightly dust a shimmer shade right in here, so it really highlights that brow bone, like that.
And as you can see, it kind of like seems like a lift to the brow.
Just a little bit.
And so that's why you don't want to get the dark brown up there too much, because you can put a shimmer up there. Okay, that looks really white right now.
Yeah, I know. We'll blend it out.
Okay, so
It's
we're
because
still blending
the
it out.
shade is really light.
Yeah, if we want to put
So we can blend this out with a...
You don't want it to be pure white, but we are going to blend it out so it's not as...
We are going to blend this bad boy out just due to the fact that it is very harsh and intense, and we don't want it to take away.
And don't use a brush that already has product on it. Reagan has clean brushes, so she can use whatever brush she wants.
Also, this brush only has setting powder on it, or the bone shade on it, so it's fine. But yes, if you have clean brushes, I suggest using clean brushes. We don't want to bring a darker brown up in here at all. This is a shot of the eyes. It's very shimmery, as you can see.
But no shimmers in the crease.
Yes, no shimmers in the crease. But as you can see, the shimmer is evenly placed in the middle with the black on the outside. And it's a nice blended smoky eye. It looks fabulous far away.
It makes me feel so pretty. Thanks, Reagan. You're the best.
Anytime, sweetie. Okay, and our next step is liquid eyeliner. My favorite liquid eyeliner of all time is the Stila, what's it called? Stila Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner. It is very precise, comes to a nice point, and it's like a little pen. And I love this one so much. You can only get it at, you can get it at Sephora and Ulta. I just know I'm in love with this one. It is a little pricey, but
It's worth it.
I see that the eyeliners with a like marker sort of tip, the more expensive, like the ones you find at Sephora, they do, I feel like, perform a lot better than drugstore. But if drugstore is your cup of tea, you can always get a drugstore one. I just feel like you have to work a little bit more with the drugstore besides with this one. And they also make the liquid ones that come in like, so you like twist off the top and it comes in like a liquid little, I'd say a little pot kind of. And then you can paint that one on. I know I used to use that a lot when I was younger when my mom did it. But I love the pen one. I just feel like it's very easy to use. And so we're just going to be painting a sort of thin line on the top. It mostly will be covered with your fake eyelashes, but I still recommend putting on top eyeliner. It definitely brings a more dramatic look to the eye.
You do not want to make the line too thick. As you can see, you can still see a difference, but it's not like...
Drastic. The line should not be thicker than what? A centimeter?
The tip of this is literally how thin it should be.
All right, for our next step, we are going to be doing eyelashes. And I know for eyelash glue, I definitely suggest the Duo.
I have that one!
You can either use the white or the black one. I personally use the white
I
one.
use the clear white one, okay?
I use the white. We have the same one.
This one will be better for beginners because you do have the dark ones. If you don't get it in the right line, you will see it.
It will look like black eyeliner. This white one dries clear, so I feel like even if you get it on your
Basically,
eyelid,
just
you can
use
just touch
this
it off.
one. This one is a really good one.
I
They
really
also
like
have one
this
where
one.
you can like paint it on the eyelash.
I prefer this one.
Either one
Even though this
works,
one blows out a
but
lot of bubbles.
This one's really good.
I really like this one. For eyelashes, mostly any pair from Kiss will work. I know
Ardell has some good lashes that are cheap.
I know personally, the Kiss ones I use, they come in a 5-pack and they say Shy on them. They are my favorite. I love those so much. But any dramatic eyelash, but not too dramatic, will definitely work.
Ardell has some good ones that are called wispies, or the demi wispies are good too. Those are a little fluffier, but those are pretty cheap too, and they come in big packs. And those are really good ones. And I think they have a clear band, so they're super good for beginners.
Okay. Okay, a tip with gluing on eyelashes, you want to make sure there is probably a tad bit more glue on the inner corner and the outer corner, just due to the fact that the inner corners always tend to fly up or the outer corners will always come off. So you want to make sure that there's probably a tad bit more glue on the inner corner and outer corner, and then also an evenly distributed line down the center of the eyelash, because we do not want any weird bends or creases in these eyelashes. They will make your eyes look like a completely different shape.
Don't put it on while it's still wet. You want it to dry for at least 30 seconds so it becomes tacky, and then like when you go to put it on your eye, it shouldn't move. If you put it on while it's wet, it'll move everywhere. And sometimes if you're doing your own eyelashes, I find it kind of easy to apply it with tweezers.
I personally don't, but some people do find it easier.
I put it down and then I take the inner corner and I put it on the inner corner and I staple each side down basically.
Also, people with smaller eyes, you definitely want to take your eyelashes off the compartment they come in and measure them on your eyes. If they are too long, you can always trim them with scissors or with nail clippers. You can always like cut off a little portion, but you also don't, because you don't want the eyelash to be hanging off the eye, and you want to make sure that your eyelash band isn't too thick to where you can tell it's a fake eyelash on your eye. You want these to look pretty natural. And you don't want it to be a straight line. These eyelashes should be forming to the natural curve of your actual eyes. And don't worry about the white eyelash glue. It looks like it is there and you'll see it, but it will dry down. We're nearing the end, and 4 more steps.
Some good mascara.
Because we want to make sure our eyelashes are blended into our fake ones. You do not want to see your natural eyelashes under those fake ones.
This is a really good one from Benefit. I think they raised it to 25 instead of 24. Anyways, this is the Benefit Roller Lash.
It's my personal favorite.
Yes, Benefit has some of the best mascaras. I would try one of theirs, then you like, whoa.
But any drugstore, CoverGirl, Maybelline, any of those will work, because this mascara is only supposed to be blending your eyelashes in with your fake ones. And you also will need to be using this on your underlashes as well. Do not skip out on those puppies. They are important. And also, when you are putting it on your under or lower lashes, you do not want to have the applicator touching the skin underneath it, because you'll get a bunch of like random dots and it'll just kind of ruin it.
Also, don't put mascara on the lashes until the glue has dried, because if you do it too soon, it will pull the eyelash off.
You will pull the eyelash right off. All right, and the next step is highlighter. And so the highlighting shade we will recommend is a gold or champagne shade.
The palette in there.
Oh, you can always use
A mix of the shade right
which
here.
is Girls Bite up here.
And that's the shade we used on our lid. And then if you want to mix in a little bit
Of
the shade
Rowdy.
Rowdy.
You can mix those two together, and we will tell you where to put highlighter.
Or if you have tanner skin, which you probably will if you get a spray tan, I would just use the shade we use for our lid.
which is Girls Bite.
Yeah, the goldy one.
So based on your skin tone and complexion, we would only recommend lighter shimmers for a highlighter if you are fairly pale or have a lighter skin tone. And then the deeper you go, we would suggest using a deeper highlighter that is darker in color, because we do not want a white shimmering shade on a very dark complexion. That will just stick out and not look the best.
Okay, so a highlighter we recommend if you don't want to use the one on the palette. This is a really good one. This is the
Amrezy by Anastasia Beverly Hills. So a drugstore highlighter you can use is the Maybelline Master Chrome.
That one's a really good one, but make sure you get the right shade of that, because if you get the wrong shade, you don't want like a dark brown strip across your face, because if you get too dark of a highlighter, that will happen.
And for highlighting brushes, we suggest these. They look like your eyeshadow brushes, but enlarged. Example A. It's a lot bigger. We do not suggest a fan brush. Do not use a fan
Please
brush.
don't use a fan brush.
So this is the Morphe M510, if you would
This
like
one
to know.
comes. All my gold brushes that I have come in a set. It was kind of expensive, so you don't have to get it. Okay.
We'll show you where to put it.
You want to dab this in there?
Oh, I love that highlighter so
Tap
much.
off.
And you're going to focus it on the very high points of your cheeks, sort of on top of the blush, and it's going to make a sort of crescent moon around that area of your face. And we're not going to go too heavy with it. Yes, your highlighter can be blinding, but it can't be blinding to where it literally
The
makes
judges
people
have to see your
blind.
facial still.
You can't blind them completely. So it should be a light dusting of shimmer like that. You can get it closer so they can see it with the light. So you can see it definitely, but it's not
This
too
is a really awkward angle to do this.
It's not too overbearing.
And If you are more advanced, please don't do this if your kids are little. You can put a tiny bit on your nose.
Or on the Cupid's bow.
We're gonna do that too.
The Cupid's bow is that right up here on the top of the top lip. All right, 2 steps left.
This is a product we really recommend. It is
You can get this at Ulta or on Morphe's website.
This is one of our most recommended products.
And
we
it's
have on
not
our
a very
list.
expensive setting spray. Like the Urban Decay All Nighter is a very good setting spray, but it can be pricey. But the Morphe I feel like is just as good, and it is only $15.
The mist is fun on this too.
Also, there are other drugstore setting sprays you can use, but this is a product we suggest using after you complete your makeup, so it will lock your makeup and keep it in place for as long as possible, especially with these long competition days. It is absolutely needed. So you're going to extend your arm, and definitely do not spray it 2 inches away from your face. You want to get at least a foot. Or half.
I would say at least like 10 inches.
Okay.
8 to 10 inches, yeah.
8 to 10 inches away from your face, and you're going to spray it all around so that you can feel it on your face. You don't want to douse your face to make it feel like you just got out of a swimming pool, but once you do that, you start fanning it off because you want to instantly dry it down.
peasant.
So it's hair. So once you spray it on and you are done, you want to make sure you start fanning it right away. You want to make sure that dries down. Oh, I just like inhaled it. But you want to make sure you coat your face, but not like coat. You just want to make sure the light drizzle gets all over, and I'd say hits at least every square inch of your face. But it's a very nice step, and we suggest the Morphe Prep and Set Continuous Setting Mist. It sprays like hairspray, but don't get it confused for hairspray.
Okay, and final step.
Ooh, final
we
step.
are ditching this red Sephora
Sorry,
one,
red Sephora.
and we are switching to a darker, more maroon shade.
We're going to look really cool.
So instead of this red, we now have this red.
So this will come in the makeup kit as well. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in the shade Heathers. It's Heathers. Okay. All right, and so yes, this lipstick, it's pretty self-explanatory. I hope all of you know how to put on lipstick. If you need help, please ask your mom.
A good tip is to not go over the lines of your lips. Just follow your natural line of your lips. It's not worth trying to get it outside and make your lips look bigger. Just go on the natural line.
Also, when I'm doing my top lip, a tip I like to do is I do an X. So I go X, X, an X that follows the lines of the natural divot right there. So I'll do an X and an X to make sure those lines are pretty clean and cut. And then I'll finish it off. And yes, you also don't want to go too thick when you're coming into the corners of your mouth, because when you close your mouth, it'll look a little too thick in that area, and it'll just kind of look a little bit like clown lipstick. So you just want to make sure that when you are coming into the corners of your mouth that you start to narrow it out. Do not keep it thick, because that illusion when you close your lip, oh my God, it looks kind of black. Oh my, but in person it looks so pretty.
Okay, guys.
It looks so pretty.
Black. Oh, there we go. There's natural.
It
color.
looks so cool. Like when I'm looking at it, wow. Okay, what are your thoughts on the pigmentation? Is it coming off pretty even, not streaky?
It's fabulous, actually.
That looks so good. Oh my God. Okay. Thanks for watching.
And that's the end. That's the finished look.
If
we'll
you
put in little clips.
Yes, if you have any questions, you can definitely ask the Hansons, or they will contact us, or just come to a senior. We will help you out with any problems, or if you need to see something up closer, we can definitely do that for you. But we hope you aren't confused, and we hope that you can follow along with this makeup tutorial, because we want to look so good this year at competition. And look at this look. You cannot you just can't get any better than that. Not at all.
Okay, guys, be beautiful. We love you.
And we're going to kill it this season. Go Kitties.
Go kids.
Everyone, how you doing your eyebrows? Brett is the real beauty guru here.
Everyone needs help. I can teach that.